Chapter 2. The man who arrived for dinner that Thursday evening came bearing gifts of ill intentions. He was perhaps 45, with a broad, florid face that spoke of too much rich food and brandy. His side whiskers were an unfortunate shade of rust brown, streaked with gray, and his waistcoat strained across a substantial paunch. But it was his eyes that disturbed Laura most. Small, pale blue and calculating. They swept over her with the assessing gaze of a man appraising livestock. They traveled over her slowly, deliberately, starting at her face and drifting down across her silk gown in a way that made her skin crawl. "Miss Ashworth, your father did not exaggerate. You are indeed a vision, like a Renaissance painting, all golden hair and rosy youth." "You're too kind, sir," Laura responded, as she had been taught, though she cringed inside. Mr. Ledgehopper smiled, revealing teeth stained yellow from cigars. "I've brought you something, my dear, a small token." He produced a velvet box from his coat pocket and pushed it across the dinner table. Inside the box was a heavy brooch, an enormous, ostentatious thing of rubies and diamonds set in gold, the kind of jewelry that announced wealth rather than taste. Laura stared at it, her throat tight. "I couldn't possibly accept such an expensive gift, Mr. Ledgehopper," she managed. "We've only just met." "Nonsense, I insist." He pressed the box into her hands, his fingers brushing hers. "A beautiful jewel for a beautiful lady, though no gem could match your natural radiance." His thick lips pulled a piece of duck into his mouth. "Tell me, Miss Ashworth," he said, speaking around the duck with savage efficiency, "do you enjoy children?" The question caught her off guard. I suppose so, sir. I haven't had much occasion." "I have 5, Mr. Ledgehopper interrupted. 5 fine boys and girls, though they've been without a mother these past 8 months. Tragic loss, tragic. My dear Beatrice died bringing the youngest into the world." "I'm so sorry for your loss," Laura murmured. "Children need a mother's gentle hand," he continued, his gaze fixed on Laura in a way that made her want to shrink into her chair. "A young, strong woman to guide them, to give them more brothers and sisters, perhaps." His smile widened. "You look to be of hardy stock, Miss Ashworth. Good wide hips, healthy color, fine breeding material." Laura's fork clattered against her plate. Her mother drew in a sharp breath, and even her father looked momentarily shocked. "Mr. Ledgehopper," Constance said, her voice tight with barely concealed outrage, "I hardly think such observations are appropriate dinner conversation." He waved a dismissive hand. "Come now, Mrs. Ashworth, we're all adults here. Well, mostly." He winked at Laura, and she felt bile rise in her throat. "No need for false modesty. Your daughter is clearly a healthy specimen of American womanhood. Any man would be fortunate to—" "Perhaps we should discuss the upcoming session of Congress, Mr. Ledgehopper," Laura's father cut in, his face flushed beneath his silver hair. "I understand you have interests in the new railway expansion bill." The conversation turned to politics and money. Laura pushed food around her plate, her appetite completely gone. She watched her mother, who sat rigid in her chair, her knuckles white around her fork. Even Constance, with all her social grace and determination, looked disturbed. When the dessert, a lemon cake with vanilla cream, was served, Laura managed only a few bites before setting down her fork. "Mama, I'm feeling rather unwell. May I be excused?" Her mother's eyes met hers, and Laura saw relief there. "Of course, darling, I'll come with you." "No need for both of you ladies to abandon us," Mr. Ledgehopper protested, but Constance was already rising. "I insist. Laura, come. Gentlemen, please excuse us. Thomas, perhaps you and Mr. Ledgehopper might enjoy cigars and port in the study." As they left the dining room, Laura heard her father say, "Shall we discuss your business proposition, Ledgehopper?" In the hallway, her mother touched her arm gently. Are you truly unwell, or did you simply need to escape that dreadful man?" "Both," Laura admitted, surprised by her mother's candor. Constance's expression softened, and for a moment she looked less like the perfect society matron and more like a woman who understood. "He's not what I would have chosen for you, Laura, but your father says he's extremely wealthy and well-connected. Sometimes we must—" She stopped, shaking her head. "Go on up to bed, darling. I'll see to the kitchen staff." Laura watched her mother disappear down the servants' hallway, the plum silk of her gown swallowing the candlelight. Then she started up the grand staircase. Her legs felt shaky, and the ruby brooch in her pocket, for she had had to accept it to avoid causing a scene, felt heavy as a stone. She had reached the landing when she realized she was desperately thirsty. The idea of going back downstairs was repellent, but her mouth felt dry as cotton, and there was a pitcher of cool water kept in the dining room sideboard. The men should be in the study by now, she reasoned. I could slip in and out without being seen. The house was quiet as she descended, her slippered feet silent on the carpeted stairs. The hallway was dim, lit only by a single lamp on the console table. She could see the golden glow spilling from beneath the dining room door and heard male voices, low and conspiratorial. She should have turned back, should have gone to the kitchen for water instead, but something in her father's tone made her pause just outside the door, her hand frozen on the doorframe. "Generous offer, Ledgehopper, but I'm not sure Laura is ready for—" "Not ready?" Ledgehopper's laugh was harsh, mirthless. "Senator, your daughter is 18. Past time she was married, frankly. Another year or two and she'll be considered a spinster. You know how society talks."
"Age?" Ledgehopper's voice turned sharp. "What does age matter? I'm a man of means, Senator. Substantial means. I own 3 railroads, have interests in steel and oil, properties in New York, Boston, and Philadelphia. Your daughter would want for nothing." There was a pause, the clink of glass on glass. Laura pressed herself against the wall, her heart hammering so hard she was certain they would hear it. "The dowry you mentioned," her father said slowly, and Laura's stomach dropped. 4 times the usual amount. 4 times, yes. $20,000, Senator. Cash, immediately upon marriage. Laura's hand flew to her mouth. $20,000, an enormous sum. "And the other matter?" her father asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "I have assurances from the party leadership. With my support and the railroad lobby behind you, you'll be Speaker of the House within 6 months of the wedding. Guaranteed. The position is practically yours already. This just ensures it." Silence. Laura could picture her father, weighing his ambition against her daughter's happiness. She knew which would win, even before he spoke. "It's a generous offer, Ledgehopper. More than generous." "Then we have an understanding?" "I would need to discuss it with my wife, of course, and Laura herself should be consulted." "Consulted?" Ledgehopper laughed again, that same unpleasant sound. "Senator, with all due respect, you're her father. You have every right to arrange her marriage as you see fit. What does a girl of 18 know about what's best for her future? They're all just romantic notions and silly dreams at that age." A pause. Then his voice took on a leering quality that made Laura's skin crawl. "Besides, I saw how she looked at the dinner table, all that maidenly modesty and blushing. She'll be compliant enough once we're wed. They always are. And if my dear departed Beatrice is any indication, your daughter's hips are well suited for bearing children. I expect I'll get another 5 or 6 out of her before—" Laura didn't hear the rest. She turned and fled, her hand pressed to her mouth to stifle the sob rising in her throat. Her slippers made soft thuds on the stairs as she ran, her vision blurring with tears. She reached her bedroom and slammed the door, leaning against it as her whole body began to shake. Her face had gone white. She could see it in the mirror across the room, a ghostly apparition with wide, horrified eyes. "They're going to sell me," she thought, and the words echoed in her mind like a death knell, like property, like livestock. Another 5 or 6 children? Before what? Before she died like his first wife, worn out and used up, buried in some cold graveyard while he searched for the next young woman to bear his sons? Her hands trembled as she paced the room, the walls seeming to close in around her. The rose wallpaper, the cream curtains, the perfect furnishings, it all felt like a prison now, pretty bars on a gilded cage. Laura crossed to the window and pressed her forehead against the cool glass. Outside, the moon hung low over the Potomac, painting the water with silver light. Somewhere out there, beyond the river and the city and the carefully manicured world of Washington society, there was another life, a different life. Her gaze drifted to the bed, to the pillow beneath which she had hidden the newspaper clipping. The decision crystallized in that moment, sharp and clear as the moonlight on the water. She would not marry Ivan Ledgehopper. She would not spend her life being leered at and used, bearing child after child until her body gave out. She would not be sold to the highest bidder, bartered like a commodity in exchange for her father's political ambitions. She would do something else, something wild and reckless and utterly terrifying. She would escape.